Sofyan Amrabat is on loan from Fiorentina for the season, with United paying £8.5 million for the privilege, with the option of making the deal permanent in the summer for £21.5 million, essentially meaning that Amrabat would cost United around £30 million in total for the transfer fee, and that probably is good value. His contract at Fiorentina was originally meant to expire at the end of this season, but they triggered a one-year extension before sending him on loan to United in order to retain his value for the following summer. But despite Amrabat being one of Ten Hag's key targets throughout the summer transfer window, I think the jury is still out on whether United should pay that extra £21.5 million in order to make the deal permanent in the summer. And if in fact it turns out that Amrabat isn't quite what United need, United have spent £8.5 million to loan him for one season, which on the surface looks ridiculous, but I actually think it's maybe some unintended genius by United's negotiating team, as rather than looking at this like an £8.5 million loss, I look at it like a £21.5 million saving. But also, if you want cheap good quality football jerseys for the new season or retro jerseys from the past 40 years, then check out jerseyfifa.com, a link will be in my Instagram bio, and if you use coupon code Atlantis you should get a discount as well. I'll leave my Instagram at the top of the description and comment section, and a link will be in my Instagram bio. See, the thing is, not every transfer is going to work out, even for the best recruitment teams, and for some transfers it's going to be evident after maybe half a season or a season that a player isn't exactly what the team thought they were buying. And so I'm thinking, maybe by taking players on a loan with an option to buy, whilst I guess you are spending more money than you otherwise would, if the transfers do fail, because you've only signed them on a season-long loan, you can then look to replace them the following summer without having to work out how you're going to shift that player and get his wages off of the books. And I actually think this can be used as some sort of insurance policy. It won't be applicable for all players, as some sides, or should I say most sides, aren't going to accept this sort of option to buy loan deal that Fiorentina did with Manchester United. But some will accept it, particularly Italian clubs I think. You do tend to see a lot of loans and options to buy in Italian football. I mean, Italian football only banned co-ownership of players around 2014-2015, and I am planning on releasing a video maybe on my Patreon about why I think the co-ownership model could be a better system for football to use. So if you're interested in those kind of topics, you can subscribe to my Patreon, it should be in the description, and get a 7-day free trial as well. But back to Amrabat, I'm not sure whether it's worth paying the extra £21.5 million, at least from his performances so far. He hasn't been terrible, don't get me wrong, but he's been a bit meh, and I'm starting to think maybe I overlooked something critical when analysing Amrabat in the summer. See, Amrabat is a very good player. I do think he's a very good addition to United's squad with his versatility, technical ability, and his defensive capabilities, certainly valuable attributes. However, I think this United midfield desperately needs pace and power. And what I mean by this is, let's say we have a front four of Rashford or Garnacho, alongside probably a new signing on the opposite flank, either side of Bruno Fernandes, sitting behind Rasmus Højlund. I think if that's the front four, then primarily you're going to be most effective in the transition. Bruno Fernandes is much better at receiving the ball in behind the opposition's midfield after a quick turnover in United's half than he is receiving the ball between the lines in a congested final third, primarily because of his ability to thread those perfectly weighted through balls for the forward line. But despite this, he does certainly lack the ability of a Kevin De Bruyne or a Dominic Szoboszlai to receive the ball and powerfully drive it through the centre of the pitch into the final third. And so I think Ten Hag needs to be signing players who have this ball carrying ability from central midfield over long distances, whilst also having the intricate ball control to play in congested areas as well. And for me, Amrabat just doesn't have this to the level needed. Yes, he can certainly drive the ball forward when the space is there, but he doesn't do it in the same way as a Ruben Loftus-Cheek or a Matthias Nunes, or how Moussa Dembele used to. I do have a video out on the ball-carrying English central midfielder that United could sign this summer, so I'll leave that linked in the description below. But the problem with Amrabat is that he's very much a player who prefers a greater possession-orientated approach, where he sits deep in front of the opposition's defensive shape as the main point of circulation, injecting pace into the attack, as well as progressing the ball with long switches of play and incisive passes threaded between the lines. And that may very well be the problem. I think the style that Ten Hag seems to want to play needs a midfield double pivot who in possession are good with their back to goal and competent short passes under pressure, whilst also having the athleticism to drive the play forward, progressing the attack on their own. But of course, out of possession in the press, you need central midfielders who can press and not miss a beat. Against the best possession sides, City, Arsenal, etc., getting to a player even a split second too late can be the difference between winning possession high up around the opposition's box, creating a perfect counter-pressing opportunity, or the opposition player simply playing a first-hand pass around you, beating the entire press and then driving into an open midfield. And so you want players who have the athleticism to turn 10 yards into 5, players who can go into duels that are maybe 70-30 against them, but can still come out with the ball. But where do you find central midfielders who essentially are modern-day Vieira, Gerrards or Seedorfs? Well, I think there are two in the Premier League, Ibrahim Sangare and Amadou Onana. Now, I did do a separate video on Onana, so I'll leave that linked in the description. But in regards to Sangare, the Nottingham Forest man is soon to be 26, whilst the Belgian at Everton is not 23 until next August. Sangare is 6'3", Onana is 6'4". Both are quick, strong, and most importantly, powerful ball carriers, which combined with their quick feet and excellent technical ability, and overall defensive capabilities, in my opinion would make them close to the perfect duo for a double pivot behind Bruno Fernandes. Both will be expensive, I should say, likely 50 to 60 million pounds each, maybe even a bit more for Onana, but probably around 110 to 120 million pounds in total. But they do come Premier League proven and adapted, alongside a fairly decent wage package of no more than 6 or 7 million pounds a season, and both are still not in their peak, so should improve further. Now, if you do want me to do a whole video analysing whether an Onana and Sangare double pivot would be the right midfield for United from a tactical point of view, then let me know in the comment section, and subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when that comes out. But in relation to Amrabat, I think United have to prioritise these sort of system improving signings, as Sangare and Onana would be, rather than signing someone like Amrabat, who, don't get me wrong, is definitely good enough to be a player in this United squad, but to me long term he's not going to be the player you want starting 30 or 40 games a season in either a deep single pivot or a double pivot in Ten Hag's midfield. And so I would rather that £21.5 million go towards signing someone like Sangare or Onana, rather than signing someone who, let's be real, is pretty much just a squad player. And for me, that's why signing Amrabat on the loan initially rather than a permanent deal could actually be an accidental masterstroke by United's fumbling transfer negotiations team.